Today it's my privilege to talk to Oasis photographer Chris Floyd, who got to know the band before they were megastars, pictured them throughout their rise and after. I'll be showing multiple examples of his iconic photography of Oasis throughout the video, so if you want to get prints or copies of his books, the links are in the description. So, ladies and gentlemen, today I would like to welcome to the channel a man who has met and photographed Sir Paul McCartney, David Bowie, Paul Weller, The Verve, Pulp, Radiohead, Supergrass, and perhaps most interestingly for me, Oasis at various points throughout their time together. Chris, welcome. How are you?
Hello, good. Really nice to meet you. Thanks for having me, James.
My pleasure. Chris, I've done a bit of kind of looking into your archive of pictures, and you met Oasis before they were massive. How did that come about?
I'd met a guy called Steve Reed, probably about the fourth or fifth job he commissioned me to do was, he goes, do you want to go to Manchester and do a shoot? It was this band, Oasis, who I had not heard of. Got a taxi to this kind of really knackered old hotel, which was where I was told to go, and asked for this guy called Noel Gallagher. I go down, knock on the door of this room, and Noel answers the door, and he just goes, all right. And I was like, all right. But I had no context for him, because no one had told me who he was.
He could have been a roadie or the manager or anything.
I actually thought he might be like a tour manager or something. He opens the door, and I go in the room, and it's just like the world's smallest hotel room, and it's really grim and bleak. He's had stuff. His stuff was all over the floor, and trainers everywhere, and like clothes scattered around. And I just remember him not really talking to me, and I just sort of sat there, and he had this address book, like little pocket address book. He had this address book, but he didn't explain anything. It was just no explanation for anything, and he just started making phone calls. Asking every single person that answered the phone. He would ask them, all right, seen our kid, all right, see you later, hang up. I just didn't understand what he was doing or why he was doing it. These phone calls asking people if they'd seen our kid. And also, as I've said before, I'm from the south of England. I'm from Surrey. So I wasn't really familiar with the concept of what our kid is.
Not fluent in slang mank.
So he's doing that, and I'm thinking, well, I can't just sit here just doing nothing. So, as a bit like all photographers do, you think, well, I'll just take pictures of this. It was the 30th of May, 1994. And I'll tell you what else is interesting is the next day was the day they shot the absolute Definitely Maybe cover.
Your photo shoot was literally the day before.
Yeah. So that's what he's doing. He's looking for our kid, and we're both sort of just staring at the football, and then obviously finds our kid, and at this point I still don't know what our kid is. That's that's still a mystery at this point of the story. He has this conversation with him on the phone and says, we've got this photo shoot to do, where are you? They obviously agree a place to meet. So he's like, right, let's go. We get up and leave the room. We go out the door of the hotel room. He's walking out, and then he just stops, turns around to me and just goes, can I ask you a question? I was like, yeah. And he goes, what do you think of Blur? And I remember just going, I think they're all right. And he goes, second best band in Britain. And then we left. We walked to a street corner somewhere, and then the rest of the band appeared. It was almost like they were walking in almost like a flying V formation with Liam at the front. The thing I've always talked about is like how just the sheer wonder of seeing that walk in real life with no context for the first time in your life. Here comes a guy in blue tracksuit bottoms with just a walk that I've never seen in my life before, bowling along. And the first question he asked me was what football team I support. Him and Noel, Man City supporters. I think it's Bonehead and United supporter.
Quiggsy's Man City. I think Bonehead and Tony McCarroll.
That's right. And Tony McCarroll, I think, is a Man United supporter. And then, so we sort of decided we were quite close to the Main Road Stadium, the Manchester City Stadium. So based on this conversation about football, we just said, I just said, well, why don't we just go to, I said, I've never been to Main Road. Why don't we just go there? Because I've never seen it. I've never been there. So let's go and have a look at that, and we could do it there. in front of the stadium, it felt like this huge open area, almost like just car parking area. I don't know what it was, like big open tarmac area in front of the stadium. On the walk there to the stadium, Liam had told me this story about getting involved in like football hooliganism and chasing an Arsenal fan into someone's back garden and then sort of giving this guy a kicking. And then the bloke who lived in the house came out his back door, saw them and said, "Oi, what about me?" And he sort of joined in, this guy, giving this poor guy a kicking. And I remember Liam saying, "I said to the geezer, fair dues, mate, it's your gaff. You should get first dibs." And
Did you believe that was true?
It was told in a very sort of funny, comical way, as if it was all just like good hijinks, basically. It just, it was all a bit of a laugh, kind of fisticuffs kind of thing to it. When we get to Main Road and we start doing these pictures, there's this point where Liam says, he said, "I want to reenact how I kicked the Arsenal fan." He said, "You get on the ground and I'll show you." So I said, "Well, we might as well make a photo out of this then." Because he just wanted he wanted to show me how he did it, just as a demonstration. And it wasn't intended to be a photo thing. And then I just, might as well, why don't I take a picture of you? The camera is the point of view or the guy's head. You don't know what you've got until you get the film developed. And then you just pray to God that you've got something usable. And it was good.
So what was your impression of them? Did you get the sense they really were destined for the big time?
Liam was so charismatic. He was so funny. Well, they all were, actually, all of them. They just had that gang thing that great bands have. They were funny. They were charming. And even the sort of antagonism between Liam and Noel was funny. I do remember thinking on the train on the way home that I've no idea if that guy can sing or not, but if he can, he's going to be an absolute... He just had star quality. He had complete star quality. He's going to be famous one way or another. He just had this incredible charisma. I said I lived in London. I remember Liam saying to me, "Oh, we're playing the Marquee in a couple of weeks or next week. Come down, we'll put you on the guest list." And then when I was on the train on the way home, I thought to myself, "Oh, I've got to go and see them at the Marquee." Because you photograph a lot of bands where you're sort of ambivalent sometimes. I'm not that bothered about them. This is a gig for me. But with them, I was just like, I've got to go and see them. And that was the 8th of June. So 8, 9, 10 days later. So I went down to the Marquee and took my camera, just, watched the gig, took pictures from the crowd, went backstage afterwards to the dressing room, took pictures backstage. And then they were staying at the Columbia Hotel. And I remember we all went back there, and I remember there were hundreds of people in the bar and it just being sort of chaos, really. I had some great pictures from that night, and at some point, I don't know when, the film just disappeared. I don't know where the film went. So all I had was a set of prints, and that is all I have. And then the film disappeared. The actual film, the negatives, just disappeared. I just don't know where they went. It's really upsetting. It's upsetting.
From there, you also then went in December and photographed them after Christmas in Brighton. I've seen that fantastic photo you've got of the Lars. Is that from Brighton?
Yeah. So I went to that gig with a friend of mine called Michael Holden. We went down to Brighton for the day of the gig. We drank all afternoon, but I managed to just not drink too much. But Michael drank quite a lot. So you've got the stage and the floor, and then there's a little balcony bit above with some seating. We had seats up there, but I also had my photo pass, and I just wandered off to go and do pictures and stuff. Put Michael in his seat, really drunk, and said, "I'll see you after the gig. I'm going to go and do pictures." And then I saw him after the gig, and he was absolutely furious, because it was one of the first times they'd ever done an encore. It turned out that they'd come on, they'd open with Rock and Roll Star. Michael fell asleep during Rock and Roll Star, the first song. They, one of the first times ever, did an encore, and the encore they did was Rock and Roll Star. And he woke up during the encore of Rock and Roll Star. And then they finished and said, "Thank you very much, good night." And he was furious. He was like, they only did one song. He fell asleep during the first song, woke up during the last song, and the first song and the last song were the same song. And he was absolutely convinced that that they'd done one song and then just gone, and that was it. It's a good set of pictures from that gig, actually, and it's good. It was great seeing the Lars as well.
That's a rare experience to actually see the Lars together playing something live and not having a meltdown or failing to show. Yeah. So next was the War Child Help album launch party with Oasis, wasn't it? Tell us about that.
And there was a party for the album at this nightclub, which I think was the Hanover Grand. Kind of rang up the organisers and say, look, can I come down and build a little studio and just do portraits? I did Noel and Tim Burgess from the Charlatans together. And then the members of Oasis that were there. Another story came up with Harry Hill, the comedian. Harry Hill was on the David Letterman show. He was a guest on the Letterman show. So it was a Loaded story in New York with Harry Hill. And at that point, Loaded had become quite a phenomenon. And the Letterman people really liked it. So when they realised that the journalist and photographer that had come with Harry Hill were from Loaded, the guy said to me, we've got Oasis on in a couple of months. Let me know if you want to come. As the Letterman thing came closer, I just thought, I'm going to get in touch with that guy. And it's the same place where the Beatles did the Ed Sullivan show, their first American. It's CBS Studios. So what happened was I went, contacted the guy at Letterman. He said, yeah, you're welcome to come anytime. Put me on the door as almost like a sort of crew member, as a hired crew member. So I could go do what I wanted in the building. When the band turned up, I remember Noel going, fucking hell, what are you doing here? And I sort of said, I was in New York anyway. Just thought I'd pop down and say hello. So I photographed them. My pictures of them were done during the sound check in the afternoon before the show. So I shot 3 or 4 rolls of film of them sound checking.
Having known them before they were really famous and still photographing them now when they're playing on Letterman, did they change much personality-wise, or were they pretty similar?
I always found Liam I found Noel much more approachable. You know, I think I find it easy to talk to Noel. Liam is my memory of Liam is that he's quite unknowable. He's sort of it's almost like an edifice that you don't know where the handles are. You don't know where the door handle is to get into the building, and he can be quite intimidating. You know, whereas I've always found Noel really easy to talk to.
Did you ever have to photograph Oasis when they were very much not in a cooperative mood?
No, I mean, maybe I'm quite good at, I have a lot of experience of photographing people who are not cooperative. They're not going to do a cartwheel for you.
Yeah.
Don't ask them to do a naked star jump, because they're not going to do that. And they'll just think you're an idiot for asking.
Thank you for that unpleasant mental image.
There's also 97 with the Verve, great pictures of Liam and Richard Ashcroft together. All from December 96 to May of 98, I spent a huge amount of time doing the Verve. I have an absolutely amazing letter from the Oasis management. This is to confirm you will receive an access all areas pass to photograph the Verve on stage, backstage, and in their dressing room at Earl's Court on 25th, 26th, 27th of October 1997. They got the date wrong. It was actually September. By signing below, you confirm that you will not take any photos of Oasis, nor must you be in or take any photos of anyone in the production office and other work areas. You are permitted to take photos of the Verve if they are talking to Oasis. However, Ignition will have to give approval should any of these images want to be used by the Verve management and or the record company. But they don't say that they will have to give approval if they want to be used by me.
So you're safe.
So I put them in my book.
Nice. What about the last shoot, I believe, which was the quite famous, I think, Noel Gallagher and Paul Weller double shoot in 2006?
Yeah, for Esquire magazine. Noel and Paul Weller in conversation with a journalist called John Wilde, and we did it in the upstairs room of a pub in Shepherd's Bush called the Bushranger, which it's gone now. That pub, it's like a Costa Coffee or something like that now. Anyway, it was the upstairs room, like the function room. We sort of were in there from sort of 6 o'clock in the afternoon, evening. We were there until way past closing time. So I remember Noel was drinking Guinness and Weller was drinking lager and lime. And I was just like, I can't believe you drink lager and lime. I haven't met anyone who drinks lager and lime since about 1985. He is funny, Weller. I'm from where he's from. So his PR is called Polly, who I know really, really well, is also from that part of the world as well. She had told him before he turned up that the photographer is from Woking. And when he walked in, he walked into this pub, the upstairs room of this pub, and he did this classic thing of like looking around to make sure the coast is, to make sure it's cool. He walked in and I was like, hello, Paul. Nice to meet you. And he sort of doesn't look at me, he just looks around the room like this. And he just goes, you from Woking, yeah? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, I like you already. And then shook my hand. And then Noel arrives, and then Noel drinks Guinness. And then every time they finish their pints, the journalist goes, gets another round in. And he goes to the bar and he goes, Paul, Noel, what do you want? And Noel's like, oh, just have another Guinness, please. And Paul goes, lager and lime. In 2021, a very good friend of mine, it was her 50th birthday, and she had just like dinner at her house. She invited about 10, 12 people around, and me and my wife Alice, she's Alice's best friend, she invited us to her birthday dinner, and Noel was there with his now ex-wife Sarah. We were talking at some point, and I said to Noel, I said, you know that picture I took of you at Main Road in '94? And he said, yeah. And I said, you know, I often think of that picture as the day my career started. He went, oh, I'll tell you why that's the day your career started. You know why that's the day your career started? And I was like, why? And he goes, because that's the day you met Oasis. I was like, yeah, I guess it was. And I guess you're right.
Well, Chris, mate, thank you so much for coming on and for sharing some of your really interesting stories behind the scenes, behind the camera, what these guys are actually like when the spotlight's on them. I understand you've got several high-quality books, the Verve.
I've got a Verve book, which I did a few years ago, which is a book of all my Verve stuff. And also in that is actually, I've got a lot of people to write, because it really focuses on 1997, this. Their thoughts on their memories of the 1997 year. And then I've got a bigger book which I did a couple of years ago called Not Just Pictures, which that McCartney thing, that's actually the cover of it. Not Just Pictures, which is a sort of kind of anthology of my career really, and about 60 stories in it. So that's sort of it. And then, you know, I'm doing print sales, so if anyone's interested in buying a print, get in touch. You can just email me, info@chrisfloyd.com.
Brilliant. Where are you on the socials?
Oh, I'm Chris Floyd on Instagram. I mean, that's all I got. I've only got Instagram. So Chris Floyd on Instagram.
Well, mate, thank you so much. It's been really interesting. I really appreciate it. It's good to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks a lot, James. Take care.
Thank you so much for watching, and a massive thank you to Chris for his time as well. While this video is the short attention span edit for YouTube, we actually talked for around an hour and a half. So there's a much longer edit that's going to be going onto my Patreon. So if you'd like to hear that more detailed, deep cut version in which we discuss his experiences with Reeves and Mortimer, with the Verve and Paul McCartney, that will be coming soon on Patreon, and the link to my Patreon is also in the description. And as always, a massive thank you to all my supporters on Patreon. And if you would like to be credited at the end of videos, to have access to exclusive bonus content and to my ad-free archive, the link is in the description, and hopefully I'll see you inside.